Hello, Faichenk here with a quick walkthrough of this article by Brian York, who works for Agora Publishing. If you're not familiar with Agora Publishing, they're one of the biggest publishing houses, especially focused on financial newsletters. They do a lot of direct response marketing, and they do it very, very successfully, to the tune of being a billion-dollar company. So Brian York himself is responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars of sales over his career at Agora. He truly knows what he's talking about. And what I'm doing here is I'm looking at this article where he gives some tips on supposedly startups, but it's really coming from their perspective. They are a billion-dollar company, so a startup to them is something a lot bigger than most people are. So I'm focusing on what lessons can we learn from this article when you are truly a one-man band or a one-woman band, and you're starting up and you're looking to provide a high-end product or service where you are looking at let's call it a considered buying cycle or a considered decision. It's not an impulse purchase. You're not selling widgets on Amazon, but you've got a high value, high price, high customer service type product or service. Alrighty. So in here, a quick introduction, interesting where he's coming from, etc. And then are the highlights. And this is really worth looking at. Number one, so important. Don't rush to be first to market. I'll give you one example. I've got a friend who is fantastic at helping you with, get ready for this, your intuition. And at first you might think, well, what is the point of getting better intuition? And that's exactly what my friend Colin is struggling with. There are very few people who say, hey, look, I want to have better intuition. There are some out there, but the problem is finding them. He has now changed his approach to selling this in a totally different way, or on the surface, very different way. Basically, he's helping people who want to speak in public or give presentations, where interestingly, you can use your intuition to immediately get what the target audience wants. And that is something people absolutely want. They want to be able to stand in front of an audience and immediately get what it is they need to give to that audience. So the point of this is, when you have something that is completely new, you are dealing with a lot of things. So you need to first figure out, where do my ideal clients hang out and how do I find them? So for Colin, it's a question, where do people hang out who want to have better intuition? Once you've figured that out, well, you need to tap into the conversation that is going on in their heads. So you need to figure that out. What is going on in their heads? What problems are they facing? How are they attempting to solve them? How have they failed in the past? The next thing is, how do you actually match your product to their desired solution? What is it they want, and how does your your solution solve it? Or do you need to perhaps completely repackage what it is you're doing? So in Colin's case, the pure intuition package is not something that's a good idea in the beginning, at least. He needs to focus more on those who want to do the public speaking thing. And then, of course, you need to figure out what is their buying decision cycle or the buying decision process, because that is different for every single market. So when you look at it like that, there are a lot of moving parts. And if you think, look, I've got a new thing, it's brand new, it's groundbreaking, no one's ever done it, well, you've got a problem. You've got too many moving parts. And as a result, you'll be stabbing in the dark a lot and never know what works and what doesn't work, or why things work or why they don't work. And that's really how we can use this important message: don't rush to be first in market, and always focus on something where we know there is proven demand, then match your thing to that proven demand and start from there. Give people what it is they want, match your thing to it so it is a want, and then from there build it out. Alrighty. Number two, watch your key numbers and watch them closely. We've all heard that we should have a marketing budget, and we should have our numbers and know the lifetime value, and then we figure out the allowable cost, etc. And the reality is that's very, very hard, because as it says somewhere in here, it's basically built on historical numbers. And that's the big problem, right? Here. Historical data. That's what you need to do all of this here. And that is a big stumbling block for a lot of startups that go, well, I've got a bit of money here and now I need to go out and somehow magically figure this stuff out. The key thing here is you really need to focus on one thing only, and that is you need to break even as quickly as possible. So you need to have a strategy, and it all depends on the market you serve, the product you have, the type of funnel, in quotes, you want to build out. You need to get to a point where you get to break even as quickly as possible. If you continue losing money, you will be out of business very, very quickly. You don't have the deep marketing budget or the deep pockets that big brands have. As a result, all of this whole thing here should really be focused on what do I need to do to break even as quickly as possible. There's a whole other discussion which is beyond the scope of this video, which is then what value do I need to provide in order to be able to charge the amount I need to charge to then break even. Alrighty, let's continue to point number 3, which is this one here, tracking. Again, we all know we should be tracking. We should have tracking scripts and pixels, and we should not rely on Facebook's tracking pixel because it is rubbish and gives us wrong numbers. But at the end of the day, we know we should be tracking. And as he says here, you cannot make intelligent decisions. And I would go further than that. You cannot make any decisions. Anything else is guesswork. It's not making decisions. It's wishful thinking. It's perhaps even ignoring the things you know you should be doing. You cannot make any decisions if you're not tracking. If you're not comparing things, here's one, here's the other, nothing ever happens. And it's so important because without tracking, you never know when you are breaking even. And you don't know what the lifetime value is of a customer, which of course is the history we talked about up here. Where is the history? Somewhere up here. You need historical data. That's your tracking. So all of this, none of this works without tracking. Then we come to test. And this is where it is almost counterintuitive. On the surface, as you see here, you should be testing. And I absolutely agree. You must test. But most people go about this the completely wrong way, which is what he then outlines here. So, I mean, to just put it into perspective, I had the great pleasure of doing an interview with Drayton Bird many years ago during another World Cup where Germany didn't lose so quickly. And I asked Drayton, so what's the big secret of, doing this marketing thing? And he says, look, you have absolutely no way, even with his experience, of knowing what the market has on their minds, what it is they want. And as a result, the only way to get that information is to test, to basically put little messages out in front of them and see which ones they respond to, where they go, yes, that is on my mind. And if you've been on my list for a little while, you know about the example, for example, the gas boiler guy. If you talk about special offers for gas boilers, very few people have that on their minds. If you then start talking about carbon monoxide poisoning, that is of importance to a lot bigger bunch. If you talk about heating bills, again, that's a big audience that responds to this kind of thing. So testing is very, very important. But for us, for small startups, we are one-man, one-woman bands, or maybe small number of people, and we have high-end products that are considered decisions. The key thing is this here: one step removed. What this means is, what he says here: never test something that is more than one step away from what you know works. So if you are looking to find what ad really works, in the sense of what is on people's minds. That's what I just said here. You need to test what is on people's minds. You can't guess that. If you don't know which ad converts, there is absolutely no point building out a big funnel. There's absolutely 0 point building out anything more than a landing page. And that can probably be minimalistic, because if and when people don't click on your ad, any time you invest it on that landing page is wasted. No one's ever going to see it. And that is the one thing where most entrepreneurs go wrong, especially startups. They go out and go, right, I know exactly how I'm going to serve this market. Well, they think they know. I know exactly what my dream product is because I'm so good at solving this particular problem. So I'm going to go and build out this big funnel. I'm going to have the landing pages. I'm going to have the freebie, the sign-up thing. I'm going to have the free webinar. I'm going to have my podcast. And guess what? No one to this point ever clicks on the ad that says, I can help you with your intuition. This is not meant to be mean. I know Colin very well. He knows me. We are friends. So, we need to change things around. So it starts with the customer. And that's where you start with one step removed. If you build anything more than the one step you know works, you're wasting your time. And that's really what he's talking about here when it comes to accelerated failure. You do one thing, one step only, and you test it very, very quickly with cheap ads. The platform that works for absolutely, well, I wouldn't say everyone, but 99.9% of the population is Facebook. That's where you start. You don't care about the fact that there might be ad fatigue. It is about getting quick data from the marketplace, nothing else. So that's where you start. And then, of course, test big. I tell you what, I've been there, I've done that. When I started my career in 2007, this online marketing thing, I bought the courses, I read the articles where it said, look, in AdWords, when you change the exclamation mark at the end of the headline to a question mark, well, there's deep psychology behind it. People respond in a different way because they're now asking themselves the question. It's true, there's deep psychology behind it, and you may get a lift of 3%. A 3% better response. Boo! Look at this here. If you don't believe the test or the needle will move by 50%, don't even bother. Don't bother with a question mark or slight differences in wording in different colors or different fonts. That's the stuff that's typically taught when it comes to testing. So this testing is not about question marks and headlines and whatever fonts and colors. It is about big ideas. If you don't have a completely different offer, if you don't go from I can help you with your intuition to I can help you with public speaking, it's not worth testing. And finally, that last point here, probably not that relevant to one-man or one-woman bands, because it's all about communicating, acting in a nimble way within your company. So there you go. That's my take on this. Absolutely worth reading. Thank you to Brian for putting this online. Print this out. Stick it up on your website. If necessary, listen to this video one more time to really get this, and then you can start doing proper info marketing, well, it's really proper marketing for startups. Alrighty, cheers, bye.